Hi everyone. So this is going to be the sixth and the last video of our Zookeeper series. And in this video, we are going to see how Zookeeper can solve the real world problems. And this video is going to tell you some system design concept that Zookeeper is solving. Before moving further, I will recommend all of you to watch the previous videos of mine or any other Zookeeper videos. But please learn the theory of the Zookeeper so that it will be easy for you to understand the concepts. Secondly, this video is for all the people who want to crack some sort of an interview or wants to study system design in depth. So now let's move to my notepad and let's get started. The first problem that we're going to discuss is very simple, that is of namespacing. So as we all know, Zookeeper follows a tree-based structure or a Unix-based structure, something like this slash root, and now it's going to have that style slash one slash two slash three. So what we are going to understand, like suppose there is a service running maybe of video call, and there is one server. So what is going to happen? There is a going to be one node going to be present in Zookeeper is something like slash video call. And whenever there is going to be servers adding to this particular video call nodes, so it is going to be like if there is a one server, two server, and three server. And if there is going to be one more server added, something like this. So this servers are going to be added into this particular slash video call folder that is going to be slash one, slash two, slash three, and slash four. So, and the names of these servers are going to be video call slash one, video call slash two, video call slash three, video call slash four. Suppose there are the servers running for the camera. So, their name should be like camera slash one, camera slash two, camera slash three, and camera slash four. So, this is how namespaces are going to be helpful to identify the servers. When there are multiple servers running in a very big organization, it's very hard to identify them. So, Zookeeper can help you out. And in this particular slash one, you can also store the data related to their maybe their URLs, their IPs, and everything. You can just store some sort of data so that it can be easy for you to identify that we are talking about which server. This is just a simple example. Moving forward to the second example, that is divide range of the servers. So this is very interesting. Now let's understand this topic. It is saying us, suppose if we have three servers, server 1, server 2, and server 3. Okay, so let's understand this. So suppose there is a database in which there are 15,000 entries, and in which server 1 can solve those entries only which have the ID present in the range 1 to 5,000. Server 2 says that I can solve the data from 5,000 1 to 10,000. Okay, server 3 says that I can solve the data from 10,001 to 15,000 or maybe 20,000. So suppose we have to solve this problem right now, and now let's see how Zookeeper can solve it. So what we can do right now, we will just make three partitions in our Zookeeper, something like that. Partition slash 1, partition slash 2, partition slash 3. And this partition 1 is going to consider the data equals to this data only. Like in the partition 1, we will store the data 1 to 5,000. In partition 2, we will store the data from 5,001 to 10,000. In partition 3, we are going to store the data 10,001 to 15,000 or any other limit that you want to set. And now what will happen? Suppose if server 1 on any day get the request of 8,000. So what will happen? It will first of all call the Z node and checks what's my range. So server 1 will going to call the particular partition 1 and will check what's my range, and if the range is going to be present. So like suppose it is going to be 8,000, so it is out of the range. So it will give you an error and the server 1 is not going to perform that particular thing. One more example can be this data can be changeable. So suppose now after some time server 1's become the compatible to solve the problem. So you can change the data and everything is happy and running. Let's take the third example. Let's take a real world example. What happened if a user is going to enter the room? User is entering the house after 30 minutes. And user informed it on the mobile application that I'm going to be in the house after 30 minutes. And we are using the smart appliances in our house. We have the smart AC, we have the smart geyser, we have the smart like light modes and everything. So what we can do in the 30 minutes, whenever user just press the button that I'm going to be in the home 30 minutes. So Zookeeper can send the notification to all the servers working with these clients right now, with these machines. So what will happen? User press the notification button, the time will be in the home in 30 minutes. User said that the call will go to the server. We will say the 30 minutes. So it is going to be connected with some Z node like user 1. User 1 Z node is going to be present, and all the services who are looking for the user 1 Z node will get the notification with the data 30 in it. So accordingly, these three services can perform the actions on the smart AC, smart mobile phones, or smart lights, and smart refrigerators, or maybe smart geysers. Okay, so suppose this is a service of AC, this is a service of particularly maybe geyser, and this is the service of refrigerator. So what will happen? First of all, the user will press the application, like press the button 13 minutes. So what will happen? The request will go to the server, and after the server, it will go to the company server, and it will say it will go to the Zookeeper, and Zookeeper is going to inform all the particular appliances that user one is using. So user one is using AC, geyser, and refrigerator. So it will go to its corresponding service with the data 30 minutes. So all these servers will get the notification that user is going to reach in 30 minutes. So we have to perform the action accordingly. This is how we can make a smart management system with the help of the Zookeeper. So now let's move to the fourth point, in which we are going to see how Zookeeper keep on checking the server is live or not. Zookeeper checks. Let me just make you understand it. Suppose there is a Zookeeper server up and running, and there are three servers in which there is a Zookeeper client. Okay, this is server 1, server 2, and server 3. Okay, there is a Zookeeper client, Zookeeper client, and Zookeeper client. And these three servers will make nodes in our Zookeeper server. So let me just make some nodes. So suppose the first node is going to be like server, okay, server, okay. Then it is going to be child 1, server, child 2, server, child 3. So this is how these three Zookeeper clients are going to make their nodes. And one more thing these Zookeeper clients are doing, these Zookeeper clients are also looking for and watching the particular node slash server. Okay, so they are looking for which node slash server. And all these nodes that are created, child 1 and child 2 and child 3, are the children of this particular node slash server. Okay, so now what will happen? Whenever there is a change in the children, so all the other services will be notified. Or you can also put a notification, like maybe the server 3 is Prometheus or Grafana. So what will happen? This Prometheus and Grafana is looking for slash server. Then maybe it is to any service that is connected to the Prometheus and Grafana. So what will happen? Whenever the child one, maybe the server one goes down, so this particular node is going to be an ephemeral node, and it is going to be deleted. And when it is going to be deleted, and this server 3 is looking for that server node, there is a change. Okay. So, and it is watching the Zookeeper server. Then this particular server 3 will get a notification from that server 1. This particular child 1 is deleted. So you have to perform some action. And maybe then after that, you can get some alert. This is how it is very beneficial. And Zookeeper just keep on checking the liveliness of the services till the time the nodes are present. It means services are live. And at the time when the node are going to be deleted from that particular service, then you will know that the particular services are deleted. There is one more good quality that we can discuss in this particular topics, that is the server child 3. And at the runtime, if you want to add one more sub, that can be added very simply by slash server child 4 at slash server child 5, and it's very quite an easy. Now let's move to our fifth point. So our fifth point is distributed logging. So let's understand it. Suppose there are three servers, server 1, server 2, and server 3. They are working on some ID, like maybe it is like this whole task wants to go on this server 1, server 2, and server 3. And the task is going to perform on some ID equals to 1. So till the time this task is going on, no one else can do any action on this particular ID rows in the database rows. Maybe it consider the MySQL, here it can be a MongoDB, and again MySQL. So what will happen when the API is going to be called? The server will take the lock or maybe create a node in a Zookeeper, After that, it will reach to server 2. And server 2 will check that yes, there is a lock. Then we can, of course, we can perform the action in the MongoDB. And after that, there is server 3 function is also going to check that yes, there is a lock. And then, of course, the action can be taken on a particular database. Okay, so this is how these three actions are going to be performed. Suppose in the situation, what will happen? There is one more server 4 that wants to do some changes, okay, into this particular MongoDB, okay, at the runtime. But when it is going to come into the server 2, when it is going to come to the server 2 will say the changes cannot be performed right now because the transactions are going on in the servers. Okay, when the transaction is going to be completed, then only you can do some changes in that particular MongoDB document, which is having the ID equals to 1. This is how distributed locking is going to work with the help of the Zookeeper. Sixth point can be you can create a queue with the help of a Zookeeper. Zookeeper was having, you already know that Zookeeper is having the epithermal sequential nodes. That means the nodes are going to be created something like that. Sequence 00000, sequence 00001, sequence 00002. And when we are going to see that these nodes are always going to be in an incremental fashion. So what is going to happen when when a producer is going to produce the data into the Zookeeper? So what will happen? It will always going to be in an incremental fashion. Okay, so it is going to be like sequence 000, sequence 001, sequence 002. And when the consumer is going to consume it, it means Zookeeper client is looking for some of this ID, like suppose /server. Let me make /server, like server. Okay. So at that time, Zookeeper client is for the consumer is going to look for the changes into /server node. Then /server is a parent of all these sequences. So it will be triggered and it will get the notification. And whenever it will get the notification, we know that we have to just sort the data and consume the smallest node every time. And then whenever we consume the smallest data, okay, and we have to delete it. This is how the queue is going to work. We can also make a stack as well. We have to just consume the topmost data, the highest value of the data, and we can consume and we can also make a stack out of it. Another use case of the Zookeeper is very simple, that we can manage the state of a user journey. Suppose if there is some sort of an onboarding going on, so what we can do, we can just put the data into the Zookeeper and we can just manage the state. So simple example is that there is a Zookeeper server, okay, and this is a server. You can just make one ID simple, like user one, any unique ID you can create, and after that it should be unique in the case of the state management. After that, there can be a sequence 0001, and that will hold the data of something uh, like initiated. Okay, after that, order is sequence 0002 in the state of a dispatch. And whenever you have to just perform any action, you have to just look for the last node that is present. Like suppose you are on the sequence 002, and whenever you perform the next action, you have to just increment, you have to just create one more node, sequence 003. And so you will able to track the data right now. Okay. Now, like you can also solve multiple problems with that. Like suppose if there are orders stuck in between, so you can just perform on the in the data that are in the dispatch state. So you can manage something like that. You can just keep on the data like order ID. This can be a format order ID, maybe X, Y, Z, P, Q, R. Suppose this is the order ID and it can have the multiple state like created, dispatched, success. Okay. And when you know all the IDs that are in the created state, you can just perform some sort of an action. You can just perform this on the basis of your dispatch, on the basis of the success. Something like that. You can also perform some sort of an actions. So this is all for the video. Thank you so much for watching this video and this complete period. This is the first time that I'm making a YouTube video in which I am teaching something. I don't know that the content is very great or not, but I'll just try to make it better. You can just post some comments that how can I make my videos better, and I will try to do it. And next time we are going to meet again in some another tech video. And till that time, bye bye.